I am back. Doesn't look like it's that much better. Still dropping some frames. But it looks like it's streaming a little better at this point. We'll see if that gets a little... Might just be my internet today. Oh, no. Looks like it's well connected so far. Alright, well, please let me know, you guys, if you end up experiencing any sort of lag, any sort of issues. I am over here on the side watching our chat as we go. Hopefully you guys were able to jump back in. Yeah, I'll see you guys starting to come back into the stream, so hopefully that gets fixed. Haha, I wish I had fiber optic. Just on regular old internet through Spectrum. Yeah, and they just raised prices on me too, which is annoying. Gotta give me better internet, guys. Okay, let's let me pull back up. We are watching the close as we get closer to it. I'll pull up. I know the two bigger ones we want to watch today are going to be Meta. We'll jump into the 1 minute frame, see what ends up happening with it, see if these levels I've drawn out are going to play out. And on the other side, we are going to watch Microsoft. So earnings in, well, we got the closing bell in about 13 minutes, but we also will have probably a 15-minute lag before we see it actually report. Quick reminder too, I did send out a beehive earlier today for Microsoft earnings. I was getting ready to send out the Meta one and realized that beehive only allows me to send a newsletter once every 12 hours at this point. So that other one, I mean, this next one coming up tomorrow, I'll try to get a Amazon and Apple MicroStrategy written up for us as well. And keep in mind, we also have Coinbase coming up. Yeah, Coinbase is going to come up as well. So real quick, let's peek over at that before. Coinbase, I will say, I expect, especially with the recent run up for Bitcoin, I'm expecting Coinbase to probably do pretty well with their earnings, if anything. Reaction wise, we'll see what ends up happening though. They are near all-time highs. Look at this pattern, you guys. Straight up accumulation. We have a pretty large reaccumulation pattern, but here we had accumulation, distribution, come right back down. So on the weekly, fairly high. You'll notice on the left over here, every time we have a reading for our stochastic this high, what ends up happening with the price is we see it relax back down. So Coinbase, in terms of the technicals, I will say a lot of names right now have run up really hard. Would not surprise to see some form of pullback on those names at this point. Same with MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy, if I pull up on the weekly, same idea. Pretty high up, pretty high up. Last couple times we saw it this high up, we all saw pullbacks on the name. So risk is definitely to the downside for these names at this point. All right, let's pull Meta back up. We'll put that back on the chart. We'll take a quick look at stacks while we're waiting for the closing bell. And if we see anything crazy come in, and number one, look at how similar these patterns are right now for both. We also did have Fed decision come in where they are not raising rates. They're holding them steady right now, which was pretty much expected all over the place. Nobody really thought that they necessarily were going to. Obviously, the president has been yelling and saying, hey, we need to lower rates right now. but it looks like that's not exactly happening at this point. We're gonna have to wait till the next decision for them and for us to see if there's gonna be a change in those. All right, Coinbase. Ooh, a lot of big money came in today. If I look at just what's being purchased, we got some calls and one big money put. So definitely more leaning toward the bullish side on these. These are all really pricey too, though. Keep that in mind. They're all aiming for next month, so the 15th of August. We do have these puts for next Friday, 340 strike. So if we see a pullback there. Are they buying? They kind of are. Lot more bullish sentiment, as you can see over here. Let's look at MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy has had a lot of activity over the course of the last few weeks. Yeah, super bullish on all the prints. We've got some puts here and there, some unusual ones. But yeah, 808, 81, 4, they're aiming for above 400 at this point. So probably going back toward those all-time highs that it's been at in terms of MicroStrategy. You know, if they are able to report, you know, a strong outlook, I'm expecting numbers to be pretty good overall with MicroStrategy and Coinbase. So you know, those are things to keep an eye out for. Those of you that are just joining us, please give me that hit that like button, hit the notification bell if you're not already subscribed. Let me know if what you guys are watching today. What do you want to see? You want to see Microsoft go up? You want to see Meta go up? What's the case with you? See Meta kind of dropping a little bit compared to Microsoft headed up further. We'll see if that just means one of them's lagging, but right now Microsoft just pushed up a little bit more. Oh, yeah. Everything overall is based upon what their outlook for AI is. But my theory with both of these companies is the fact that they both want to, you know, show investors that they're committed to that AI race. I expect a little bit of upward movement, or at least increase in AI capex. That's the main thing. They should be all spending more money on their AI programs. Question is that priced into what the what the current trading price is? Do we see that in a reaction to the downside because of it, or does it end up surprising investors and the public so that we see price headed further up? Right now we are seeing this bit of a wedge pattern over here. We just saw it break out for Microsoft though. Peek over, like you said, Qualcomm. I live in San Diego, so Qualcomm is right around the corner for us down here. Qualcomm, I said, was in this wedge pattern upward channel from the April lows. From that low till now, it's up about 30%. That's actually a little bit behind the rest of tech. Most of tech has gone up about 50% from their lows. On the big picture, you know, highs back in June of last year, $230 is the high. So there's definitely some upside to it. Weekly, I'd say we're starting to see it possibly run up a little bit, or sorry, monthly. Weekly, we are a little bit high. On the daily, same thing, peaking up toward those highs. We got to be able to get over this hump right here. So it's rejected it twice. The pops over here. Yeah, it looks like my stream's doing a whole lot better. Drop frames are down to 5%, which were mostly at the beginning of the stream. Let me know if you guys are noticing anything with lagging on your side, though. Microsoft retesting that top of this wedge, popped up above that, so that might be a good sign for them. So Qualcomm, we'll keep an eye on that as well. I should be able to only have 2 for mine. I do have real-time data though, so that's what that. Okay, so Meta on the left, Microsoft on the right. Ooh, Meta's starting to break down from that a little bit. Yeah, Meta's got to get back up above 700. But if we see this retest I'm expectations with when we see the close, we usually will see all of these big names. We're going to see it test a low and test a high. We'll see a giant wick, a big ugly looking candle for both sides, take up liquidity, selling off near the highs and things like that. And then once the report actually comes out, then we start to see the true movement of it. In terms of, if you guys want, you know, quick data, I usually just go on to Twitter, and that's where I'm going to be looking for the reports. Usually they're going to hit Twitter and report pretty quickly, and then from there you can get an idea what's going on from there. Nice, we got 8 people watching. It hit 10 just a moment ago. Like I said, if you guys are joining us, make sure you guys comment stacks. I always appreciate the conversation going on in here. What are you guys watching for today's after hours? Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood, Carvana. What is it that you guys are looking? Are you looking bullish? Are you looking bearish? Let me know. What's up, Derek? How's your day going? Glad you could join us. Are you in any positions for earnings? Are you looking at any specific positions for up or down? Bullish on Robinhood, bullish on Coinbase. I like it. We will see how they react. We got close in about 2 minutes. Microsoft pushing a little bit higher. Meta kind of just chopping around right now, so Meta's a little bit more indecisive. So always pull out to see what exactly is going on, but they've headed down the last few days from, I mean, their channel's still going on. Right, is this gonna be a bull flag pattern headed up top, or are we gonna see it break down below and head back down toward 680? Got a minute left. Oh, another thing, let's just, oh, Microsoft kind of pushing up. Real quick thing with SPY too, we did have the Fed decision, and so that's why we saw a bit of this sell-off from earlier today. Them holding rates instead of pushing, instead of lowering rates. Lowering rates probably would have led to a little bit more of a bullish result. Let's go back to Microsoft. Okay, time to see what happens. Remember, initial reaction isn't going to be the final result. We'll probably see some spikes up and spikes down real quick. And then we'll start to see the results from earnings. Just waiting for it. The stream should be delayed about 10 to 15 seconds from, I'm casting from OBS Studio. So usually there is a little bit of a stream delay. But it's basically live, or as live as it basically gets. Meta pushing up towards 700, toward those highs that we saw earlier today. Or not exactly highs earlier from the day. We're actually still pretty low from the day. Yeah, keep in mind, these candles might look huge right now on the screen, but overall they're still small compared to the big picture. I'm just zoomed in very, very closely. Qualcomm dropping so far, but that might not even really be the reaction yet. Oh, EPS a little bit lower than expected, that's why, for Qualcomm. Robinhood, nothing so far. Carvana starting, oh, that's just where it closed. Nothing to report on that. All right, still waiting for the reports. Microsoft looking good so far. Microsoft at 540 now. Microsoft delivered sales beat, EPS beat, cloud sales beat. Yep, headed up higher. 545. We are up there from up another 7% there. 6 to 7%. Meta. How about Robinhood? Robinhood up a little bit so far. Oh, Coinbase is tomorrow. Carvana. Well, Carvana's seeing a spike, but Meta still no reaction. ARM. Oh, there we go, Meta. Ooh, Meta. Look at that. Big push up. Up above 700. 4 to 5%. Yep. Guessing that's a beat. Guessing they gave solid guidance. Microsoft starting to chop around a little bit. Let's peek over at Qualcomm. Qualcomm still lower. Lam Research dropped so far. Ford, I don't expect Ford to do too great. Chopping around. ARM. Ooh, ARM is down. Results. Meta going higher. Peaking up above that 741, 742. That's where I got my resistance drawn too, so keep that in mind. That's, you know, that's where supply and demand are gonna have a little bit of a fight. If it's able to push above it and stay above it, we'll see it head up further. This is what I like to do. We'll just set our alerts to see if it goes up higher, if it goes back down lower. Same with Meta. Let's pull up. Yep, Meta's going higher. Robinhood. Robinhood profit more than doubles. Q2 revenue almost $1 billion. That's solid. Ooh, Qualcomm. That's not pretty. All right, well, looks like the big winner is Microsoft, breaking up above that. We're seeing 7% higher. Meta, about 7, almost 8% higher. Does this set up what we're looking at for Apple and Amazon for tomorrow? Same with MicroStrategy and Coinbase. Those are the big names we're going to be looking at. Got to take a deeper look into what they actually said. I'm expecting for both of them, like I said, increase their AI spending, continue on with their fight for that, and for, let's see. Yeah, solid increases. Revenue for Meta increased 22% year over year. Increased ads. Daily active people increased 6% year over year. Repurchase program. Yeah, solid. Solid for both these names. Robinhood looking like it's up 3% so far, but that's decent. Oh, there we go, Carvana. There's the push up. Carvana up about 6%, up 20 bucks, 355. See if it continues. Oh, that's good to see, 360. And Microsoft with just this green candle, yeah. So Microsoft up 6%. Carvana up 6%. Meta up 9, almost 10%. Yeah, Zuckerberg's doing a good job. Oh, Carvana now up 7.5. Qualcomm down about 4, almost 5%. Yeah, I didn't expect Ford to do a Ford down 3.5%. ARM down 6%. I'll say overall, I mean, you got to understand. So if we peek over at SPY, SPY is going to run up along with Microsoft and with Meta. You know, they're a very big part of the S&P 500, so that's why we're seeing right now. I mean, it's only a 0.49% increase for the S&P, but that's, you know, overnight, and just good sentiment from these big companies, these big AI companies. All right. Not too bad, you guys. Not too bad. I think, you know, with what we were saying, we definitely have quite a bit of you know, these predictions that we've given you guys. We always like to give you guys a bullish and a bearish case, but always go back, take a look at what we had to say in our Stacks software and in our, let me show you guys real quick, in Stacks. You guys can always jump in here, and in terms of eRoo trades, what I've been doing is I've been making sure that we show you guys what we had to say, making sure you guys see what the results are, and what ended up happening with prices afterwards. So I'll be posting that a little bit later. Usually we'll do a after hours post, and then I'll do another one once market opens and we see the true reaction of price. Just saw Microsoft peak up a little bit above that high. We're still seeing, oh, let's change this one, Meta. Meta's still running. 766, up 10% now. Microsoft up 7. Carvana up almost 10%. Oof. All right. What are you guys looking at? How'd you guys end up doing? What positions were you in? Always good to know. Always wanted to keep a conversation going on in here with you guys. Also, what are you guys looking at the rest of the week? Anybody in on anything before the open? Anybody in on and expecting anything for Apple or Amazon? We also do have some of our oil, so we got ExxonMobil and Chevron coming up on Friday before the open, so there's still a couple ones to play. Also, our Bitcoin names, Coinbase and MicroStrategy, are also going to be reporting. Same with Riot, so keep an eye out for those. And we're still seeing these names run up. With how Meta's moving right now, I mean, they both very likely could see a little bit higher. We could see Microsoft above 550 and Meta above that 770. They still have the earnings calls to go through. Ooh, Robinhood popped up, came back down. Now it's only up 2% at this point. Qualcomm's down about 5.5%. Lam Research, not bad, up 3.5%. It's just APLD. Applied Digital, oh, this one up 10%, but it's a $10 stock, so it's up $1 from 10. Snow. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to go into this. Oh, Snow saw a pop today after hours. Probably related to, I would not be surprised if it was in one of those other reports where maybe they're a partner or something like that. Let's see. Talk about the MACD curl. Filling up that gap that we just had. I would say if you're in this name for the long run, it's got good potential for the future. We really just, I mean, what I basically see is we have this accumulation pattern. And if you've seen any of my previous Wyckoff charts, in due time in 2027, it should be back up around 300, if not higher. That's basically where this is headed. A lot of companies you see initially, great hype, pops up high, sees a distribution pattern, then it goes into a range where it is accumulated and you see buying and volume near the lows. And the good thing about this company, the recent quarterly was bad, but if they are on pace to eventually make good money, right now it looks like they're still losing money. Down the line, you will see it when it does start to report positive earnings. You'll start to see it go up. We saw it with Carvana. We saw it with Palantir. There's a lot of names recently where you can look back on 2020, 2021, where the name got real hot because of, you know, the money printing we did, because of the stimulus checks that were put out, because of the small business help that was sent out. A lot of money flowed into the markets and pumped these names up where a lot of people made good money off of it, but then they sold off. And so now, you know, you have to understand these accumulation patterns are real. Let me just copy my Wyckoff chart in here. If you were part of our chat yesterday, Wyckoff accumulation, where is mine? There we go. It's definitely taking that shape. Okay, so if I were to, let's go ahead and label these for you guys as we wait, and then we'll get back to the other charts in a moment. Let's clean this up for us. Okay, so what are the different parts? Let's just do a quick little lesson on here. We have what's called the PS, which is the preliminary supply. This is the first range in which we start to see a pushback. We start to see buying and selling and a range that is starting to be created. Okay. From that preliminary supply, so in here you could say it could be this top area, but I would definitely say this, put a box neck around it. Preliminary supply is this little range right here. So let's color that red. That's our first spot. Okay. PS, preliminary supply. Okay. Then what you see afterwards is you see a selling climax. Selling climax is generally characterized by the biggest volume spikes that you see. I know it's kind of small in here. Let me zoom in and we'll come back out to it. What I have here is a moving average as well. So you'll see how all the low volume back here, the blue down here, all of a sudden you see a huge spike over here, which basically means, okay, first preliminary supply, and then the second big spike that we see here is the selling climax. Selling climax is generally going to be characterized by that large volume. You are looking for that, and this is where they have a large buy up of the shares. Then from there you start to see a automatic rally, AR. Some call it an automatic reaction, but automatic rally, automatic reaction, we see price quickly move back up toward the upper range of what we're looking at. So actually, let me real quick, PS. Okay, so they usually say the range you want to draw is going to be between the selling climax to the automatic reaction. Okay, so selling climax, automatic reaction, that's going to be where price is going to chop around, and they're going to start to take the shares near the bottom. They're going to create a campaign and create a storyline that helps push the name up higher. From there, we have what are called secondary tests. Secondary tests, you can see anytime the price comes down toward the bottom range, you will start to see volume come in. You'll start to see them snatch the shares up to try to push it up higher. In addition, Meta going up higher. In addition, you will see multiple secondary tests, and you will see pushes up to the upper bound of the range and also for it to come back down. Here what we have is called the spring. The spring is a last resort, last chance for them to gather shares, a push below the selling climax to really bring, you know, depression and despair for the public, but a situation where they do see, for example, here you see positive earnings, positive outlook for the company, and that's where they really try to take that last push up. From there, you will also see a push up and a return back to the low last point of supply, LPS. And that's actually something that we always want to, oh, both names going up higher. LPS is where is one of the last phases. So if you can kind of see in here, I've got phase 1 is going to be preliminary supply, selling climax, automatic reaction. Okay, so that's our first phase. That already played out. Then you have the secondary test before the spring. And so you can say the secondary test, probably to about right here. You're going to see secondary test there, secondary test here. Okay, trying to test low ends, and you always see it push away from there. Then you see it push all the way down for the spring. That spring sets us up, and you see what's called a sign of strength. So technically right here, there's a sign of strength or a push out of the spring and over what we, some of them, and there are drawings where they call this a creek. So you're jumping over the creek, you're jumping over this, you know, chop down toward the lows. Once you've seen that happen, then you will see another push of a sign of strength toward highs. Right, this would probably be, I would probably call this, there we go, sign of strength pushing up toward the highs. And as of right now, we are seeing, I'll do this in orange. See the last sign of strength and additional buy-ups at the last point of supply. I'll just rewrite it. LPS, buy-up, last point of supply. Okay, so these patterns exist in just about every chart that's been around for time. Okay, so I always use Boeing as an example. If you've gone through some of my previous videos, Boeing has this pattern even as far back as like, shoot, why does it always go to that one? There we go. You go all the way back to the beginning of time for Boeing, back in 1968, all right? And if you go all the way down into this chart, all the way down here, you will see that same pattern all the way back down here, right? Now the pattern isn't always going to be exact one-to-one of what I've drawn, but they will have the areas and the ranges. So you got your preliminary supply, selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test, in this case a spring, and then signs of strength, reaccumulation. So if you look at this up here, this is basically where that orange box I drew for snow is. You can see it chop around up here before it heads up further. And so snow, right, very similar to that type of chart. And at the end of the day, we will, in time, I do believe we will see this, very likely it will break that 228, eventually break above the previous preliminary supply, 245, and then head back up toward these other ranges. Another one we'll use, we'll talk about Robinhood just because right now it did report earnings. Okay. Now in this situation, you have to keep in mind that last point of supply and the buy-up can still come back down, okay? But I would definitely say this last point of supply probably there, signs of strength and headed up further. You'll definitely start to see a campaign for snow in due time, telling you guys about how great a company it is and, you know, its future. And it's going to start to push the price of that stock up. So I'd put that on my watch list. I would also, in terms of stacks, let's Let's real quick peek over at it. Are they getting into it for the long run? Okay, so we did see a little bit of buying earlier this week. If I look at the buys, okay, this would probably be a decent position. If you've got the 3K to throw out this isn't a bad, 250 by September of 2026. All right, this is the type of position where you might want to, build up some long-term calls for them. Here, they wanted over 220, 3 mil spent. This was back at the end of 2024. And it's up since then. It's up about 50 to 60 bucks from there. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I think Snow down the line is a name that we're not only going to hear more about, but you can see it possibly run up like we've seen Palantir, how we've seen Robinhood, Carvana, those names as well. As you guys also continue, if you notice those patterns, you notice this Wyckoff accumulation pattern start to build, share it with us. That's what I want you guys to do with our Stacks software, what I want you guys to do in terms of our Discord. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help each other out. I've only got one set of eyes. It's always nice to get multiple people looking at different charts and keeping an eye out across. There's so many names in terms of tickers that it's easy to miss out on things. But if you want me to take a look at a certain chart and you think it's going through accumulation, or you're noticing a certain pattern, let's discuss it. Let's study Wyckoff a little bit together so that we can, make some money off of these names, okay? Learning what the big money institutions do, what the people who have, capital to deploy. You don't have to start off with a ton of money, but at the end of the day, if you're able to, I think, piggyback along with some of these whales, right along with their flow, there's definitely money to be made. Let's peek back on, let's say, Robinhood after hours. Ooh, that's an ugly little sell-off. What did they say? Crypto volume jumps 32%. Earnings beat estimates. But it had its pop, went up, and now it's back down a little bit after hours. That's not good. Carvana now at 380. Carvana beats expectations. We'll see what the actual numbers are once they get reported onto TradingView. Microsoft, we saw Microsoft went a little bit higher. I think it's now kind of in a range that we'll see. So we might see it go a little bit higher. We could see this gap up tomorrow and then potentially start to sell off pretty quick. So keep an eye out for that. Meta did well. Qualcomm, let's see what Qualcomm did. Qualcomm, this is the kind of name that very possibly is going to get snatched up pretty quick. So revenue forecast above estimates. Chip sales rise. This might be an unwarranted sell-off. I think they might have missed a little bit on their 10% increase from last year's same quarter. EPS is up. Income, 25% rise from last year's Q3. Yeah, I don't see why it necessarily sold off. It's probably because they adjusted next quarter's EPS to be a little bit lower. Yeah, Q4 EPS. No, adjusted it higher. Just adjusted it higher. So I think this is probably going to recover in the next couple days. Yeah, I'll go. I know some people that work at Qualcomm too, so maybe I'll go ask what's going on. Ooh, Carvana, nice. Carvana, I do believe. Let me double check. Was it a Stacks AI print? Carvana got some. Back in May, Carvana got these. Back in May, Carvana had some, and same with March. Back at 211 and 317, and you know, if right now it's trading at 384. So these Stacks AI prints are up pretty extensively. Also, by the way, I will be doing our Stacks AI review very soon. It is the end of the month. Time to get these new prints out on there. Let's see. Oh yeah, today, by the way, this is PG&E. Yeah, PCG. Let's give you guys that today. PCG, Pacific Gas and Electric. This is what we in the Bay Area use. PG&E, utilities, gas. We saw some, and here's something I want to point out too with our PG&E Stacks AI print. Let's give that to you guys here. Look at what ended up happening. So if I click on buys right now, this is definitely a name that I would consider getting into. I actually did just get into January 2026. These are actually down a little bit as of today. The spread got kind of ugly for them and went kind of wide. I think they're down like 6 or 7%. But 86 cents for those calls. They're purchasing for 2027, over 17 bucks. There's big money that spent 3 mil. These are actually pretty solid too. The expectation is that the move is going to come by September, which is, you know, it's getting close. It's 2 months away, or not even a month and a half away. Above 15, above 16, and above 20 is what they're aiming for. This is definitely more of a gamble. 6 cents for these ones, you know, pretty ridiculous. So I'm screenshotting this for our chat in the Discord, because that is too much to to ignore. All right, you guys are still here. Yeah, Stacks AI prints, there are certain ones that are definitely a little bit too expensive. I'll show you guys right now. Stacks AI. There are certain ones like, look here, this FBTC, also because it's a name I don't know as much about. I did not get into those. These Palantir ones, 2K for, you know, not something I want to look at. But these ones, you know, where they're $1.48, these ones at about like $3 to $5 are definitely worth looking at. We'll see how this one Etsy turns out. I believe the earnings is, oh wait, no, earnings already happened. ETSY, I do believe they went up. Yeah, Etsy popped today from that earnings report. We can definitely peek at it, see if price of those options went up. But yeah, it's, you know, those positions that Stacks calls out, a lot of times they do set a foundation for what's coming up for earnings. Now, the thing that I like to point out is, don't just use the one Stacks AI as confluence of whether or not you're getting into that position. I like to see if you end up using, I like to see if there's continued purchasing for those options. So that's why for this situation, the PCG, like we just saw this today. Let me switch back. PCG we just saw today, but when I'm filtering for these buys, it's just been buying since the 22nd. Okay, so I'm expecting this name, very possibly, it's gone up, what, 10 cents since they got in at that position. But yeah, yes, yeah, Derek, definitely. I think equity is the safer way to go. Equity is the least risky out of all of the positions. Leaps, for example, definitely are worth looking at. The 2027 one, 48, that's not too bad in terms of in terms of leveraging your money. You can consider it this way, is you can get 10 of those contracts versus just 100 shares of it right now. Okay. And 10 contracts, yeah, those 100 shares of that, which is equivalent to one contract really. 100 shares of PCG would be 1.4K. If you buy 10 contracts of this one, that's going to be 1.48. Okay. However, there's a greater chance that you could see this with a move up past 17, right? In a move past up 17, you're gaining $4 per share, which is nice. You'll gain $400 on those 100 shares. However, if it does go up past 17, and this, the premium of this very likely is going to go up a bigger percentage, and a much bigger percentage than that $400. So that's where you have to understand, you can let, you want the safer bet. This altogether right here, this is just telling me something's about to happen. It's either going to be some sort of partnership, some sort of news. It's already kind of hit people behind closed doors. And in due time, we'll probably see some sort of movement here. And there's also the hint here as well, is if you see all these for 919, that basically tells me that they're expecting the news in the next probably month or so. So we probably, very likely, will see it by the end of August. If it's not by then, it might come in, at the very beginning of September. But generally, a lot of these are going to lose out a lot of significant premium if it doesn't start moving up toward 15 and 16 by then. So, why would they go spend all this money? 3 mil, 1.1 mil, 400K, 650K, 200K. Nobody in their right mind is putting that kind of capital toward a position that they are expecting to just hand to the markets, right? So that's part of the analysis, is we're expecting that they're not buying all this blindly. They're getting into these positions to potentially, make, if not double their money, multiples of it at the end of the day. So would not be surprised. PCG, we'll keep an eye on it, especially if we see any sort of pullbacks on the chart too. Something to consider. All right. So what I usually do here, set my alerts. My alert's already set up here for 1430. I'd probably move it back down a little bit here to most recent highs. Set another alert for if it were to drop down below 1385. That's usually what I do. That way you don't have to stare at your chart all day. But this very likely could have been the most recent bottom at about 13 bucks. We're just going to probably see this, start to head up further. If we see if this is a true cup and handle pattern, inverse head and shoulders, a lot of different names for it, but ultimately, by September, so we can even draw this out here. Long position, if we were to get in here, they say September 19th. They're aiming for 16 bucks. Where would my stop losses be? I mean, generally you want that risk reward ratio to be over 3. But in this situation, you could say the stop loss get out if it goes below that, or if you're going to have less risk, you might want to aim for under 1350 is probably where that would be. That would give you a 3.55 risk to reward ratio. So we'll leave that there, see what ends up happening with it. I'm going to share this with my chat. Okay. Usually keep watching, buy on a dip. Either way, it says our eyes forward, which is the power of stacks. Yeah, exactly, Derek. There were a few people in our Discord that have talked about that. If you see a stacks AI print, put in and get in on a part of that position. If it dips, set yourself up where if it goes down about 30 to 40%, might want to average down. If it goes down further, 50%. Some people have different strategies for it, but 30 to 40% probably give yourself another small position in it, add to it, average down, and then if it goes down further, consider it again. Or if you know, depending on your risk, some people might get out from there. But I like to play these Stacks AI prints that are smaller in terms of the amount of capital that I'd have to deploy, because at the end of the day, a smaller move, you know, this being a $14 stock, does not need as drastic of a move as something like, you say, you know, Meta or Microsoft, which, I mean, for today with earnings, yeah, they moved pretty nicely. They had a very large pop, 10%, which you don't see every day. Microsoft, 6 to 7%, which you don't see every day as well. But at the end of the, you know, with all being said and done, you need to play what works best for your portfolio. But we saw some good pops for some, Carvana up 15%, right? And here it's, okay, look at that. Earnings, they technically missed EPS by 1%. So they missed by a cent, okay? The revenue was up 5% though. So again, that's going to give it a red E, meaning they missed their earnings, their EPS. But as a result, this still popped up because they have positive forward guidance for what's up to come in their future. Let's peek back over at Robinhood. Is there anything else you guys want me to look over or peek at before I sign off today? I know today we saw the reactions, we saw earnings. Robinhood, ooh, nice. EPS up 36%, 37%. Revenue up 8%. But like you can see, the reaction initially was nice, but now it's back trading at basically flat from where it closed today. A lot of times too, if you take a look at it, maybe they've already had their run up from down here, right? Maybe that information was priced in here, but we'll have to see. No, we'll have to let this play out a little bit more to see if we are truly getting to some sort of buying climax, and we might start to see a reversal, or if Hood still has legs to go up further. All right, that's all I had for you guys for today. We had a bit of our write-up for Apple and Amazon and all that. I will be posting those out. Reddit, let's talk about that real quick. Our Reddit, I mean, the ultimate meme stock. They make money. Yeah, they sell ads, right? Last year was terrible for them. That's why they saw that push down. Negative 37% on net margin. Question here is, are we seeing this as another sort of wedge slash flag that we've seen? There is this gap down below at 128, 130 that it could still come back down to fill. I mean, personally, I use Reddit. It's a nice time killer. It's great for finding additional information about things. But I will tell you this, there are some indicators that this company needs to show up better. So they need to show more money. They gotta their balance sheet, liabilities to assets is solid. They have very few liabilities. Income statement definitely needs to be improved from where it's at. It looks like they started to improve most recently. The one thing I do not love about this is this P/E ratio is actually higher than Tesla and higher, I think higher than Palantir right now too. No, Palantir is at a 689. Okay, never mind. But Reddit, 234. Okay, so I've always used this example. Let's say you have a lemonade stand. Okay, and that lemonade stand makes you $10,000, just say for the year. Okay, what would somebody pay for this company? A lot of times people will say, okay, well, we'll pay you 10x yearly earnings. Okay, so that means a PE ratio of 10 equals that I would spend 100K to buy the company, buy my lemonade stand. Okay. Now that seems pretty that seems pretty fair, right? Because I would have to take 10 years for me to end up 10 years to make my money back, basically. Okay. And in terms of investment, you know, you got to play the long run, long game. Okay. So now if my PE ratio here is 234, right? 234, that means take this, right? Your 10K a year, 10K a year, put that 234 in front of it, right? You are spending 2.3 mil for my lemonade stand. That makes $100,000, or it makes $10,000 a year. Does that make sense? Is that a good investment? So that's basically what right now Reddit is trading at, that PE ratio. It is whatever it makes per year. Right now, this price at $150 or so is valuing this company at 234 times what they make per year. So as of that, you know, two things can happen. If Reddit is able to prove and give positive earnings, which number one, positive earnings and beating out their previous, means this PE ratio starts to come down. That can push the price back up because, you know, it's gonna average out and even out. If they miss on their earnings or it stays flat, very quickly and very likely this is going to start to drop, because that is not sustainable. Investors are going to realize, hey, the company is not making nearly as much money as I expect, and that PE ratio needs to drop, or this is severely overvalued in that situation. Now, for example, like we said, Tesla dropped a little bit, but last I looked at it was at 188, okay? Palantir, like I just showed you, 689. Now, why would a company be valued at such a high PE ratio? Always has to do with what they expect for the future. Okay, so Palantir is supposed to help the U.S. government create a database of every single American and be a way to monitor everybody in terms of cybersecurity and what they're doing online, things like that. Palantir's got the infrastructure to try to do that. So as a result, you'll see these P ratios get pumped up extremely, extremely high. But sooner or later and down the line, either the company's got to boost their earnings and make a ton more so that PE ratio drops, or it's going to end up selling off. So right now, just with the technicals of Reddit, yeah, we could short term see it maybe push up higher if we see some earnings that, you know, beat the estimates out of the water. But as an overall long-term investment, this is not something I would really want to be purchasing at this point. Okay, so keep that in mind. You know, even though technicals say strong buy, analyst rating is a buy, the PE ratio is something that is part of the fundamentals that things are eventually going to fall back upon. Okay, doesn't have to happen right away, but that's just something where I'm looking at it saying, probably you could probably find a better position to get into for. Okay. All right, you guys. Anything else? Let's see. Reddit, Coinbase, Riot. We'll jump into our stream tomorrow again. We want to do a review of what ended up happening with today after hours, and then tomorrow before open. We got CVS Health, Roblox, ABBV, Cigna, MasterCard. We even have Bristol Myers, Norwegian Cruise Line. We've got, again, lot of earnings. Max should be here tomorrow as well. We want to make sure that we get you guys additional insights to what we see, not only for the charts but also for what we see on stacks. The play I wanted to give you guys today, again, PCG, Pacific Gas and Electric. We saw a lot of calls for stacks come in, so this is the position I would say, especially if you got a smaller account, might be worth getting into right now. All right, hit that like button, hit the notification bell so that you guys will be notified, especially tomorrow when we go back live. If you haven't already signed up for our Beehive, it is in the description box below. Same with Max's Substack and his YouTube. A lot of great information. We're pushing out content, making sure that we get those analyses out to you guys as soon as we're writing them, and getting you guys ready for these upcoming earnings. We saw Meta today pop up higher. We saw Microsoft today pop up higher. We saw Carvana pop up higher. Robinhood went up higher and came right back down. We saw Qualcomm drop, but I will say this is something that we've got to keep an eye out for. Very likely could get snatched up pretty quickly, especially because I don't think their guidance was too poor at the end of the day. And then what else do we have today? ARM also dropped. I saw ARM dropped, kind of ugly for that one. So we'll do a review of those a little bit more tomorrow, and then we'll discuss what is reported in the morning as well. All right, you guys. Hope that was useful for you guys. We will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll do additional earnings analysis. I'll see you guys in the Discord, and hopefully some of you guys wake up to some solid profits tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.